Hey guys, Mark, aka the Nerdy Punk, back again this evening for a new video. I don't know if you heard, but there were just some fireworks going off in the background. So, anyway, it's 4th of July, or it's actually the eve of 4th of July. It's July 3rd currently. Anyway, I'm at the movie theater because I'm getting ready to see one of my most anticipated movies of the year, the second feature film from writer-director Ari Aster, which is called Midsommar, or Midsommar, however you want to pronounce it. I have been looking forward to this movie all year because Aster also wrote and directed one of my favorite films of the year last year, and potentially one of my favorite horror films of all time, which is called Hereditary. I know that everybody probably has seen Hereditary by now. It was a big hugabaloo last year about Hereditary. A lot of people either really loved it like me or really hated it. It was pretty much like that. It kind of polarized audiences. But I've heard similar things about this film as well, Midsommar. It's about, from what I hear, this couple who's kind of on the verge of a breakup, and they go to this weird cult-like festival in Sweden called Midsommar, and a bunch of creepy, weird shit goes down. So I'm very excited for that. It sounds almost to me like, and from looking at the trailers, it looks almost like Hereditary meets The Wicker Man. So I have actually not seen the original Wicker Man movie, but I have seen the Nicolas Cage version from 2007, which is glorious for its own reasons. But anyway, I'm really interested in this. I love like cult movies, creepy, like weird shit movies. Basically, Ari Aster described this movie as The Wizard of Oz for perverts. So that sounds very intriguing, very interesting, and that should tell you all you need to know about the movie before you go see it. So very excited for this one. I'm going to try not to compare this one to Hereditary as much as possible. It's going to come into it because that's my familiarity with this director, but I would like to have his individual works stand on their own. But I'm sure I'll kind of refer back to Hereditary occasionally throughout this review. So anyway, let's get in our time machines, and we will fast forward about 3 hours, and I will be right back here with my thoughts on Midsommar.
A few moments later.
Alright guys, so just got outside of seeing Midsommar, and holy crap, where do I start with this movie? This film was insane. Just as good. I even think I enjoyed it better than Hereditary. So, like I said, I didn't really want to do the comparison too much, but you have to. That's the only other film that I know from this guy, Ari Aster, and it was such a great movie. One of the entire reasons why I got really excited for this film was because of Ari Aster. And so naturally, I'm going to compare it to his other work. I want to kind of go over why I think it's such a great movie. I think it's the best movie I've seen in theaters so far this year. I do understand where some mainstream audiences won't enjoy it, and I also understand some of the criticism that it's received from critics. First of all, this film, just like Hereditary, is an incredibly slow burn. So this is not your standard horror movie. That's one of the things that made Hereditary exceptional, in my opinion. It's because it wasn't your standard horror movie that you're getting at the box office theaters nowadays. The movies where you're just getting jump scare after jump scare. There are very few, if any, jump scares in Midsommar. This movie fucks with your mind, and that's what makes it really, really great. Ari Aster knows how to craft an image to absolutely stick and burn itself into your brain. There are a couple images from Hereditary that are burned into my brain, and there are more than a couple images from this one that are absolutely seared into my consciousness forever. They're that messed up and that, like, memorable. One criticism I have with that, one of the very few criticisms I can think of, is that there was one image in particular that he went back to a lot. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Hereditary, click off this video right now because I'm going to talk about something with Hereditary. Go watch it, then watch this video. But the spoiler with Hereditary, when the daughter's head is chopped off, and Aster shows that shot of her head lying there. That is an unforgettable image that I don't think anybody who watches Hereditary will forget. But one thing that I really liked about that is that he didn't need to go back to that image. He showed it once. I don't believe he ever showed it again in the film. If he did, it was one more time, and it was quite a while after. But he didn't need to show it multiple times. There are a couple of images early on in this movie that he shows at least 4 separate times, and I think that is a little bit too much. It's such a powerful image that we really only needed to see it once. But anyway, yeah, that's one of the very few criticisms I have with the film. Another criticism that I have, this is a funny criticism, quick. The biggest asshole in the movie, his name is Mark. So as someone named Mark, I kind of took offense to that. That doesn't even matter. I just wanted to crack a joke. But overall, really the criticism that I see from mainstream audiences is that it's too slow. So it has about a little less than a 2.5 hour runtime. And you can feel it. At times, it doesn't feel like the movie is going anywhere. Yes, there are these really disturbing, haunting images, but for a very long time, you approach this movie as almost an anthropologist. Now, that's the college degree language coming out of me here, but if you don't know, anthropology is like the study of different cultures. And one thing that I really loved, I took an anthropology class in college. It was probably my favorite class in my entire college career. I, of course, study social studies, and I teach social studies, actually. But, so it's right up my alley. But one thing that I really, really liked about this film is that it almost approached this movie like an anthropologist would. There are 2 characters who are studying anthropology in college, 2 of the main characters, and they're approaching this as their thesis. And they're taking all these notes and learning more and more about the culture of these people here in Sweden, and they're planning on writing about them. And so the movie, it almost like takes the audience along with you on this journey of exploration into this really weird, fucked up cult. And there's a lot of drugs involved as well. Quite a few very trippy moments. And I really liked the effects that Aster used on the camera in order to make the audience, even though we're not taking the drugs, feel kind of like we're on the trip with them. And that was really cool. Definitely disorienting as well. Another very brief, small criticism that I also actually kind of have a justification for as well. I was slightly concerned or, I don't know, thrown off by some of the believability of some of the things that went on. The main character, and this is my excuse for it, I think Hereditary, this may just be me, but I think Hereditary, Toni Collette's performance was viewed by some as over the top because of this theme of Aster showing how humans react to things, especially death, and how we react and express our emotions. I feel like they're over-expressive performances for a reason. So I do think that Florence Pugh, the main actress in this film, I think that she has a lot of over-the-top emotional scenes. But I feel like there's a reason for that. I don't feel like that is unintentional at all. I think that's Aster trying to portray his message through the film, through her performance. So that's sort of a criticism, sort of not. She does make a couple decisions that, if you think about it for a couple seconds, you're like, why would she do that? How would she know that? You know, I asked myself that question a couple times. But overall, I mean, the negatives that I have with this film are so slight compared to how well this film was shot, how beautiful it is. It's such a great, great landscape and backdrop for this film. Very gorgeous. Incredibly well shot. Of course, I don't know if this is actually a thing or not. I'm obviously not from Sweden. But in the film, it's an eternal daylight time. So I know in Alaska in the United States, there's this period where Alaska is dark all the time. And then there's a period where Alaska is bright all the time. And so I don't know if that's a similar situation, if that's an actual thing, or if that's just something that they went with for the film. I'm not entirely sure. If you're from Sweden or if you know stuff about Sweden, leave that in the comments. That would be cool. But because of this eternal sunshine, it's a really interesting backdrop for a horror film, because horror films are oftentimes shot in a dark nighttime setting. So this is a very interesting take, and forces the characters to do some different things they might not always normally do. Overall, the plot, incredibly similar to The Wicker Man. I almost feel like Ari Aster knew that this was similar to The Wicker Man and was making, like, inside jokes on purpose. There is a bear suit in this movie. And if you have watched the Nicolas Cage Wicker Man, you know the bear suit, the iconic bear suit from that incredible scene. And I almost feel like there's no other reason to put a bear suit in this movie. Ari Aster knows what he's doing, and he is having fun with it. And I really, if you can't tell, I loved this film. I've already been talking for 8.5 minutes about it. So I'm going to go ahead and start to wrap this thing up. I have to go see this in the theater again. This is one of those movies where you need to see it in theaters. And if you go see it in theaters and you don't like it and you get pissed at me, please forgive me. I know that this movie is not for everybody. I completely understand why a mainstream audience wouldn't like it. All I ask is that if you go see this movie, give it a shot, okay? Go in knowing that for about the first hour of the film, nothing crazy happens. Of course, just like Hereditary, the last 30 minutes are complete batshit crazy. But the first hour, I could understand why people would get bored by it. With that being said, I am going to give this movie a 5 out of 5. I loved it so much. I think I even loved it more than Hereditary. There are even more messed up, crazy moments in this film than Hereditary did. And so, definitely highly recommended. Like I said, I don't think the film is entirely perfect, but good enough to deserve the 5 out of 5 rating. So if you enjoyed this video, leave me a like. Hit that subscribe button down below to stay tuned for future videos. It's kind of strange that we're celebrating a holiday right now with the 4th of July in the United States, considering this movie was celebrating a holiday. Anyway, if you're from the United States, happy 4th of July to everybody. Hope you guys enjoy your holiday. And have an amazing night. Bye. Oh yeah, and just to let everyone know, I closed down the theater. There are literally no more cars here. Happy 4th, guys.